I always think at these. What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome back to the channel. This is Bunkbed Breakdowns. Got the hoodie going. It's probably like real expensive on the website, so I'm not going to tell you to go out and buy it. But if you want to go out and buy it, go out and buy it. We got our man David Wright. I was expecting a Mets third baseman to hop on, but we got an even better guest because this guy supports our channel. Going on for a roster review, just general football talk. Looks like he's a Mississippi State fan based on the poster on the back, so it might not be going too well for him, but we'll see how his fantasy teams are faring this season.
You a big L and I ain't talking about Cool J.
How you doing today?
Good, man. Doing good. Yeah, Mississippi State's been a rough year. Oh, we had something after that LSU game, but then put up only 2 points to Arkansas, got blown up by Kentucky. I don't even want to talk about the Alabama game, so.
I figured Mike Leach there, the air raid, they'd be thrown a million times. They are, but they're not scoring. We're not going to talk too much about that. I don't want to get you too down. We're going to hop right into the video, but before we do that, I think you know what we got to do first.
Hey, let's hit that intro.
Let's do it.
Don't shake your fucking head. If you ask a question, I'm telling you how I feel about it. I took a Mecca Okafor and Karan Butler. They're not bad.
So this is my redraft league. Yeah, sitting 7-1, sitting first place, feeling pretty good. Not gonna lie, my team is kind of dirty. Got a lot of really good players.
Jesus Christ. Was this more of like I want to show off my team than I need help?
No, well, I think I can make some upgrades, and I did have a good question, I feel like. So, but we'll get into just potential upgrades. I'm sitting here, Jared Goff, QB2 in a super flex league. Do you think I could try and move him for something better? Is there something that you would recommend? Maybe a good quarterback, good second half schedule?
I actually do like Jared Goff's second half schedule. He gets Seattle twice. I think he gets Seattle right after the bye, and then I think he also gets some week 16. I'm not sure if you can check it on ESPN right there. But I know the receivers have a pretty easy second half schedule. Yeah, Seattle, Tampa, San Fran. We just saw Aaron Rodgers. We're recording this like a week early, so this was like right after the Thursday night game. Aaron Rodgers tore them apart. They're also playing like the second stringers. The only tough matchup, I guess, would be a full strength San Fran team and maybe New England, but they're kind of like dead dogs. I don't think you're going to be able to sell him for what he's probably going to return for you in the second half because you look at his recent matchups. Miami's a good defense. Chicago's a good defense. San Fran, I guess if they're full health. Washington. So he's had a pretty tough go at it so far, and he hasn't been awful. It's tough this week that he's on the bye for you. We'll know when this video comes out how well your team did, I guess. But the fact that you have Michael Thomas in your super flex spot, I think more than makes up for it. He's not somebody I'm looking to sell because I think the value you'd recoup at quarterback wouldn't be enough.
Another thing that's come up recently is George Kittle, right? His initial report said 8 weeks. I think Dr. Jesse Morris came out said 2 to 4 weeks. How confident are we on that number? Because I think I've got like a Corey Davis for George Kittle trade kind of on the table potentially. I'm thinking if he comes back before that trade deadline, Kittle, flip Waller, get something better than Davis. Now I'm sitting rocking and rolling for the playoffs.
I've told many people that I went to college for 7 years and I haven't graduated yet and I don't have my doctorate, so I can't tell you anything about injuries.
Did you hear I finally graduated?
Yeah, and just a shade under a decade, too. All right.
You know, a lot of people go to college for 7 years.
I know. They're called doctors.
As far as that goes, your team is definitely deep enough to take a risk like that. The thing about Corey Davis, it's kind of twofold. The first part of it is he's been fucking awesome. You look at his targets this year, you look at what he's done. It's basically, I think, 69 yards, which is a nice output, or a touchdown every single game. A.J. Brown has never out-targeted him when they play on the field together. Obviously, Jonnu Smith is now going to be a little bit healthier coming back from that ankle injury, so we're not sure what he's going to do in the future in terms of Corey Davis's target share. And that also plays into Corey Davis's upcoming schedule. I believe he plays Indianapolis twice, Chicago in that span, if you can check his schedule upcoming. I know Tennessee has a real tough go at it over these next few weeks. Yeah, Chicago, Indy, Baltimore, Indy again. After that, it's real easy, but that's a 4-game stretch that if you're going to be without, or you're going for Kittle and you think he's going to be back in like 5 weeks, those 4 weeks that you miss with Davis, you're probably not going to miss all too much because those aren't very favorable passing schedules. Looking at your squad, it's tough to say because in my opinion, Darren Waller is a top 3 tight end right behind Kelsey and Kittle. So you don't really need a tight end, but at the same time, Waller and Kittle are 2 guys that one you could play at tight end, one you could flex, and I'd feel real comfortable with. You're going to be a little bit out of luck this week as far as who you're going to replace Corey Davis with because Amari Cooper, they're on their 4th-string quarterback playing Pittsburgh. DJ Chark, they're with like, what's his name, Jake Luton or Luton, I don't know his name. So that's going to be a little bit tough for you. I think going forward, though, it looks like all your guys are either past their bye. I know Allen Robinson has one coming up, and I think that's it for your team. So I wouldn't hate that move. It's just a little bit concerning with George Kittle having a foot injury. We know that likely hampers bigger players like that and all players in general. So if you want to take that risk and make that push for the final playoff run, I'd go for it, because in the coming weeks you'll have Tyler Boyd, you'll have Miles Sanders, enough weapons to be able to get you through that slump.
And I guess the leads me to the main question for this league in particular. So this league is fucking crazy. We're getting like 1 to 2, maybe even 3 trades a day. Like, wow. It's insane. This league is moving and moving.
It's your home league?
Yeah, this is a home league. And I'm starting to find that since I'm sitting, towards the top of the league, when I try and engage in a trade talk, value of these players are already just jacked up through the roof, and I can't get anything done. And I'm talking like try and go get some scrub like Giovanni Bernard, right? And they come back and say, well, it's going to cost you Dalvin Cook and Miles Sanders at a minimum. I'm like, dude, like, just suck my ass. So I guess from your experience, is there like any tips you can give in engaging in these trade talks to see if I can get a fair value or something closer to market value? Because I understand if I'm sitting top of the league, no one wants to give me that piece that just really takes me over the top, right? So, I mean, they're already going to inflate the value, but is there anything I can do to kind of bring that back down to a reasonable level?
Yeah, well, first off, what I would say is with the team you have now, obviously every team can make upgrades. For you, I'm not sure what the rest of your league looks like and how competitive they are. I think with the team you have right here, how many people are in this league? 12?
12, yeah.
Yeah, with a 12-man league, this is like a very, very strong roster. But if you did want to make trades, what I would say is, and it's a little bit risky, and I did it in my home league because I know people are stingy there too. If you want to make a trade, don't be afraid to lose a trade, but play it to your advantage. So there's still a few bye weeks upcoming. Maybe you play a guy in week 13, or who do you have in your team? Let's see. Allen Robinson. I think he has a bye in week 11. Maybe move him to the guy that you're playing in week 11. So it hurts him that week. You take a little bit of a loss on the trade now, but you know it's going to help you win in week 11 because he's going to be without Allen Robinson instead of you. And you can maybe make a lateral move like a Will Fuller or a Terry McLaurin, where you value the guys similarly, but when week 11 comes around, the guy's going to be like, oh, shit, I have nobody to play, whereas now you have Terry McLaurin against like Dallas or whoever he plays that week. I'm not sure if that's like a type of tip that would help you out depending on like who you play, but like even Leonard Fournette, he has a bye in week 13. That's right before the playoffs start. Maybe move him to the guy who you play in week 13 for a running back who is maybe ascending in value or a package deal to help you get, like, you already have good depth, but maybe round it out or buy a guy who you believe has a lot of upside. I know you have J.K. Dobbins on your team, but maybe a J.K. Dobbins type that you could flip a Fournette for if you play a guy in week 13 that has that type of running back.
Yeah, that's definitely good to know. I was thinking along the lines of like, maybe I just need to go make some just shitty ass trades and just lose them on purpose. so when I'm going to the table, people are like, all right, let's make a deal here.
Hey, my home league, I moved James Robinson for Mike Davis and Cooper Kupp because the guy I was playing in week 8, it was the guy I was playing in week 8, and I knew James Robinson had a bye. I didn't know when I traded Mike Davis, he was all of a sudden going to become Jordan Howard, and then it didn't end up working for me. I lost to the guy anyways. He played like 3 active players, and they all went off. So it didn't work out for me in that fold, and especially with James Robinson being an animal, I probably shouldn't have done it, but we'll see with the backup quarterback. But that's a little tip I would just throw out there, is maybe just try to move a player that you think might be perceived higher value than they actually are and get somebody in return who's like a lateral move. And then in return, they won't have a player to play that week.
Probably doesn't help my case that after week 1, I traded, Matt Stafford and Adam Thielen for Russell Wilson and Mike Thomas. So the entire league is just sitting there like, dude, what the fuck?
It seems like that in seasonal leagues too. Like once you make a trade and you end up seeing how bad it was for one side, people are like, I don't want to trade with him. There's something up with this guy. Every time he makes a trade, it's so favorable for him. It's like, that's not how football works. Like they didn't think this one random person made a trade and like all of a sudden the player goes off because of it.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I think that's all I had for redraft. One, wanted to talk about that trade. 2, yeah, low-key, you're right. I want to show off my team because it's pretty dirty.
I would too if I had a squad like that.
You caught me. So we'll move over to Dynasty here. So I think when we were chatting beforehand, I mentioned I was brand new to Dynasty. This is only my second year ever doing a Dynasty, and I found myself in a pretty strong contending position, and a lot of the content we're seeing right now, it's rebuilding, how to do quick rebuilding. And someone who is as new to Dynasty as me, I think I could probably benefit from some insight into what moves I should make as a contender. This league's not nearly as
trade happy
as the other league. I think we've probably had 10 trades in the past 2 years.
You got to get in a league with Scott. He'll make 10 trades in an hour.
I love it. I love the action in these leagues. But this one, I think I've been involved in like 8 of the 10 trades. It's insane. But like I've got, Joe Burrow, got Jonathan Taylor, we got, Jalen Rager. So my 2020 class is looking really good on top of guys like Kamara and Adams, Cooper. I feel like I'm sitting in a pretty good spot right now. Obviously, I've got pretty shitty quarterbacks right now, and Haskins, Taysom Hill, Carr, Burrow. So that's probably a move that would make sense. But how desperate should we be, especially this year, to make those moves to win it?
Yeah, for sure. So looking at your roster right now, I think you can definitely compete. And what I would do, and I just did it in one of my leagues, is I traded Jonathan Taylor. And I know it's hard to give up on him because he was like the consensus 101. He's so talented. He's behind that offensive line. Or 9 weeks into the season when this video comes out, 9 weeks would have been played. And I'm not going to, I don't think he's going to do anything against Baltimore. At some point in his rookie season, we just got to realize maybe he's going to do well in year 2, but year 1 just doesn't look like it. Maybe trade him to a team who is in the bottom half of the league that still believes in him because, he's 21 years old and a lot of guys struggle year 1. Maybe move him for a Nick Chubb who's coming off the IR next week. That's what I did in one of the leagues. It was a package deal where I got a quarterback and Nick Chubb, and I gave up I think it was Jimmy Garoppolo, Jonathan Taylor, and another pick. I know it's hard to give him up because you look on Player Profiler and his bar graphs are through the roof. Yeah. Maybe trade him for a guy who isn't too old, who's still under contract for next year because the team you have, Kamara, Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper's hard to sell right now because the value you're going to recoup with them playing with our 4th string quarterback isn't going to be great. Like Devontae Adams, all these guys are going to produce for you next year too. So I wouldn't sell out Jonathan Taylor for a Chris Carson where we don't know what the future is. But if you can get a guy like Nick Chubb, or I saw you have Miles Sanders on your bench, so you obviously can't trade for him, but somebody of that value, somebody who is going to be on the team that they're on right now, have a little longevity and still produce for you this year, that's something I would do because Jonathan Taylor for me is still a first-round dynasty startup pick. But I think to round out your team and help you win this year, maybe package him in a pick for a Dalvin Cook or just straight up for Nick Chubb because I think that's going to help you rather than Jonathan Taylor. And I know his schedule is super easy, but his schedule was very easy against Detroit, and he looked lost out there, quite frankly. But other than that, I really like your team. Honestly, Joe Burrow and Derek Carr aren't the best quarterbacks, but they have good schedules and they throw the ball a hell of a lot. So I think the other pieces around them, like Kamara, like Devontae Adams, like Calvin Ridley, is going to be able to put you over the top even if your quarterbacks aren't producing.
Yeah, I actually just acquired Kamara, 2 days ago? I had Zeke, and I shipped Zeke off, and a 2021 third and 2022 second. Got Kamara.
I like that. Especially, that's the type of deal you got to make. Although in the long run, you probably lost that trade because Zeke next year is going to be fine, but nothing's better than winning a championship, and you're trading a second-round pick 2 years from now. So, who really cares? I know that's not the expert way to describe things, but who cares if you're going to win this year?
2021 first, right? What are we thinking with this next upcoming class? How's COVID going to be impacting it? We're seeing games scheduled or canceled all over the place. Do we have high hopes for this 2021 class? Should I try and move that for something?
Honestly, fuck COVID. You look at the top of the class in terms of wide receiver talent. There's so many guys that I think are on par with or better than the guys in this class, which is kind of crazy to say, seeing as how much or to what extent they've produced. But you look at a Rashad Bateman and Jamar Chase, who's not even playing college football this year, and the fact that he outproduced or did almost as well as Justin Jefferson last year, and we see what Justin Jefferson's doing in the NFL, that just shows the level of talent they're at. Rondell Moore, there's so many names out there. And then even the running backs, top of the class, you look at Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Chuba Hubbard. 2 of those 3 guys I wouldn't doubt are going to be 3 down backs. The quarterbacks at the top, I just think that the fact that Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence are basically locked in 101, 102 because of their talent, their dual threat ability. And the fact that there's those 3 running backs and how deep of a wide receiver class there is, even if you have a late first, you're probably going to get a value of a guy that you would have to spend a mid-first round pick on in the 2020 class. So I'm a huge fan of 2021 picks. And obviously, if you buy them right now, there's a lot up in the air because of COVID. We don't know who's going to declare and all that. But most of the time, the value of first-round picks just skyrockets once the draft comes around, once the combine rolls around. You see Travis Etienne run a 4.3 flat, and that 2021 first goes from the value of an Allen Robinson to the value of a Michael Thomas real quick.
So you just recommend holding it?
Not well, is it your own first-round pick?
I'm sorry?
It's your own first-round pick?
It's mine, yeah.
What's your record right now? It's like against the league median.
The median, yes. We're 13-3. I'm actually going up against the other contender. We can check out his squad too. He's got a pretty good team. He's the only one that's got me a little worried.
Yeah. So it looks like your pick is probably going to be like at worst, like 10th overall. So I'm not saying don't trade it. If you can trade that for somebody who you think can help you this year, or in a package deal to make an upgrade, like a Jonathan Taylor in your first for a Dalvin Cook, or Jonathan Taylor in your first for like somehow a McCaffrey, 100% go for it, because the person who has McCaffrey probably isn't doing too well right now because they lost a bunch of games without him. So I would definitely make that type of move. I'm not saying don't sell it, but I do value the 2021 class very highly, COVID or not. I just think that there's so much talent there.
I think of DK Metcalf, man. That's hard to say as a Mississippi State fan, but with these two right here, that might be the move.
Yeah, might be. You're gonna package him for DK?
Maybe JT
that's not bad. I think DK he's my wide receiver 1 for Dynasty. I have him like probably 16th, 17th overall, but I think Ridley might be my 8 or 9, and Cooper might be my 10. So it's a pretty big premium. But for this year, and especially with Ridley now dealing with an injury and Amari Cooper, who knows who his quarterback is, I don't hate it. It's one of those trades where you're probably losing in the long run, but you might be winning it this year with that type of move.
Yeah,
Didn't DK Metcalf like pee on the field against them, or was that a different team?
Deep. This one is an adjustment.
This is the kind of people we have
and
now.
a broken tackle for a touchdown.
Maybe it's like a dance move.
DK Metcalf. Oh my goodness. Watching too much.
What do you say?
That was against us. I'm starting to look more to 2021 because something I loved last year, especially with this dynasty, was going and watching random college football games for prospects. Like I can't tell you how many Colorado Buffalo games I watched just for Laviska.
Yeah.
Right. So you got any of those under the radar guys coming into this next class that I should be tuning into on Saturdays?
Not really. To be honest, I don't follow college football all too much until the NFL season is over. And then when we work on the rookie draft guide, I'll just like go into like 6 or 7 game films for every player and really look into it. I know last year I would look for TCU to watch Jalen Reagor, and I would just have to turn the game off because they wouldn't throw to him, and I was like kind of upset about that. Well, I know there's a guy for UNC that Mike likes a lot, wide receiver, Diami
St. Brown or something.
I think it's Diami Brown or something. He's really good. Amon-Ra plays for USC.
Oh, okay.
But I know Amon-Ra St. Brown is supposed to be like a first-round dynasty pick. I don't know what he's going to do in the NFL because his pedigree is Equanimous St. Brown, who hasn't done anything in the league. So I'm not sure if that's going to help or hurt him when it comes time to draft him. But I know those two guys I know Mike likes Diami Brown a lot. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown is like one of those Twitter darlings. I'm not sure about his athleticism or whatever. I know Seth Williams, he isn't a sleeper for Auburn, but he just seems to be like the next T. Higgins, and I'm not going to make that mistake again in fading a really good player just because they're not like all too explosive, like big guys that can jump and win in contested situations. Maybe I shouldn't fade them because they're like really good at good colleges and good divisions. So that's some guy that whenever I watch him play, like Bo Nix isn't the best quarterback out there, but he like bails him out a lot. So I definitely like Seth Williams.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, man.
I saw some mock draft. He's supposed to be like the 5th overall pick, which like isn't great because every tight end that's picked like top 10 kind of stinks. Yeah. But he's a different breed. He's an animal.
I think he plays mainly wide receiver anyways. They just have him labeled as a tight end. I think he wasn't like a all-pro last year or all-American last year just because he played wide receiver too much. Hey, you don't qualify for tight end.
Is Kylan Hill playing this year? Didn't he get suspended or something?
He opted out. He played the first couple games. Reports said they had some personal issues.
He's somebody that last year I thought was going to come out, and I was a decent enough fan of him to like look into him. If he's not playing this year, I'm not sure what's going to happen to his draft capital, but I liked the fact that he could catch passes and he seemed pretty explosive. So he's I guess, an under-the-radar guy, but you probably know a lot more about him than I do.
Kylan's so fun to watch. We just need to get Dak back,
like
man.
Aaron Jones. He's like real small but explosive and can catch passes.
But he's beefy, though. I mean, he'll lower his shoulder and run you over.
I have to call him fat. We'll see if that happens.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to talk about Mississippi State football. Dak Prescott, that's about it.
Don't they have
I'm there for the glory
AJ
days of Dak.
Costello? Is that their quarterback?
Yeah, Costello. Oof. He's got like 2 touchdowns on the year, but like 20 interceptions. Hey, you gotta respect a guy coming all the way from Northern California, going to some Starkville, Mississippi, out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. You gotta respect that.
I guess, yeah. Going from Stanford to Mississippi.
Even though he sucks. And he's embarrassing Mississippi State.
Why do you go to Mississippi State? Because of Mike Leach?
Yeah, Leach got him to come. He's like, we're gonna make you the highest or most passing yards in the nation. I ain't working out too well. Can't even get a first down. Well, I think that's all I really had on my list here.
Oh,
I appreciate the time. Appreciate all you guys do.
Thanks
you guys
for
are
coming
making
on.
our lives a lot easier.
I appreciate having you on. It's fun to talk. It's good to see teams that aren't like completely rebuilding and actually like doing really well. Because every time somebody's on here, it's like, yeah, my team's real rough. You pop on with a 7-1 team, I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I was you right now. But appreciate having you on. Appreciate the support you guys show in Discord, on Patreon, and just overall on YouTube and everything like that. It's really appreciated from our side. This is just a little token of our appreciation. We're gonna keep this running throughout the offseason. Hopefully we can get Nick or Mike or somebody else, maybe even Animal, like high as a kite on one of these, and give a little feedback to you guys as well. But hopefully you guys enjoy this type of content. If you do want to get into one of these upcoming episodes, join our Patreon, which gives you access to our Discord, and you can be featured in one of these segments going forward. But appreciate you, David. Thanks for coming on, and have a great one.
Hey, you too, man. Take it easy.
Yep, see ya. All right, welcome back. I always do this. I say welcome back to like part 2, even though it's the same video and probably nobody's watching at this point because we're probably 45 minutes in. But welcome, Bike, to part 2. Doing another roster review. Apparently, a whole lot of injuries going down, and he's a Lions fan, so a whole lot of sadness going down. I'm pretty sure like 90% of the people we've had on this channel are NFC North fans. A lot of them like Green Bay, so they've been living pretty. Unfortunately for my man Tyler here, and I'm a Chargers fan, so I know what it's like. It's been rough, but we got long hair going out, just flowing right now. You can't really see. The last part of the video was like 3:30. Right now it's 4:20, and it just got dark, so now you can't see anything. I was like trying to take advantage of the natural lighting. Didn't help me one bit, but I'm not going to ramble too long. How you doing today, Tyler? How's your team looking?
Good, man. How you doing?
I'm going. I'm trying to make the best of what I got going.
Dude, same. With injuries, COVID, everything that's been going on, I'm just trying to get by, man. I'm just trying to make the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. Just trying to scrape by. Trading for Myles Gaskin, him getting hurt, just crying a little bit, and then like getting right back to it.
That's rough, dude. That is so rough. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Traded Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, I'm feeling good. 2 hours later, Gaskin, IR. I'm not feeling good.
I feel even worse for you now.
It's all right, though. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to need to get, what are those eye surgery called? When they like the laser eye surgery?
Oh, LASIK?
Yeah, he might need LASIK, so he's going to be out for a while, too.
Oh, so he can finally see the holes that are open?
Yeah, the holes that are there, but he can't see. Yeah, he's like a priest. He's just got to avoid every hole he sees.
Jesus Christ, dude.
All right, so I'm assuming, yeah, this is Dynasty Football, I assume, because it says Dynasty Footballers up top.
Yes, you are correct.
Nice. I'm really good at reading. All right.
So this is the squad. This is it was startup this year. So we had the draft probably what should have been preseason week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what we were looking at. It's a 10-man league, but I will just let you take a look at the starting roster as of right now.
Is the kicker there just for like rookie picks when you did the startup, or you like actually use kickers?
We actually use kickers. So I'm the type of person that waiver wires, I'm going to pick up as many people as possible, and if that means dropping a kicker and picking one up right before game time to see who the best play out of those waiver wire pickups is, that's what I do.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, your quarterback situation is beautiful. I mean, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tannehill. I think Tannehill's my quarterback 10. The other 2 are well within like the top 8. So the quarterbacks are definitely there. Is this any type of tight end premium at all?
No, not tight end premium.
All right, so John was decent enough. And you got a pretty young core outside of Adam Thielen, Marvin Jones. I'm assuming they're just fill-ins for injuries. If we can look at your bench and see who you got going on down there.
So here's the bench, and then you can see just the 2 IRs down at the bottom. That hurts every time I see it.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't see Eckler on IR. Every time we do one of these, it seems like Eckler's on IR, and it just reminds me that like he could have been the RB1 this year. Instead, he's just like his hamstring is clean off the bone, like Will Fuller.
That's what I'm saying. Like he easily could have been RB1. He's probably would have been getting double-digit catches a game, averaging like 20-something, 25 points a game. I'm just super upset.
I know, yeah. I'm a little buttered up about it too. You have anybody on the taxi squad, or do you even have a taxi?
Yeah, we got a couple people on the taxi. It's kind of a small league, so we don't have that many bench spots compared to what I've seen on some other videos that you guys have done.
Yeah.
I'm trying to push to get a couple more bench spots, a couple more taxi spots open for next year.
And this is 10-man, you said, right?
Correct.
Honestly, looking at your team, I know this is a cop-out, but, like, I don't think there is all too much to change. Like, if you look at your starting lineup right now, obviously you don't feel great about David Montgomery out there. You obviously know Justin Jackson's longevity isn't there. You have Eckler. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen when he returns. I think it's just going to be one of those situations where everybody loses value. Like, Eckler's not going to be the same guy we saw before because it was a pretty major injury. And, like, he hurt his knee as well, which is going under the radar. So I don't think he probably won't even play this year if the team, like, can't win games, which hopefully they do. But I wouldn't doubt it. They're the Chargers. They'll blow anything that they want. Pause, kind of. And then you look at receivers, Jerry Jeudy. I don't know what's up with this guy. He's good, but he also, like, can't catch passes, and his quarterback fucking stinks. Maybe Atlanta's going to be a turnaround game, but just looking at your squad, I think that you will be close to competing this year just because you have the quarterback plays to keep you in games, and you have upside guys like a Thielen. You have Jonnu Smith, who's a decent enough tight end. It looks like Joe Mixon back from bye, and Ryan Tannehill when his matchups ease up. You'll be close to competing, but I'm not sure you have any, like, star pieces to push you over the top for this year. But that's not to say I think you should just completely sell out or, like, buy on a high upside player like a Dalvin Cook and just give up everything for them. I think instead what you could do is, like, I'm not sure what your record is. I think it was like 4-4, right?
4-4, yeah.
Do you think that you're in a good spot to win it all this year, or you don't think that you're completely competing?
So if I go over to my league, there's one dude that is just far and above everyone else, and you can see him just at 7-1.
Yeah.
So if I feel like once I get everyone back, I can get to a good spot in the playoffs. But as you can see, this guy's team is just
that's a little ridiculous. With that type of squad, does he have another quarterback other than Big Ben?
He has Drew Lock.
He has Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Horsecock Drew Lock. He doesn't have much depth, but I would say, now this is a little risky, and it might just contradict what I said, is if you look at your receivers that you have, I know you have Marvin Jones, who's a little bit older. Nobody's really buying in on him. But you do have Jerry Jeudy, who's young, Marquise Brown, who I don't like all too much, but he's got that stack with Lamar Jackson, which is decent. You had Jalen Reagor, I saw. You had Laviska Shenault. You do have a young wide receiver core, and a lot of your running backs are – and you have Tyler Boyd, who's good, DJ Chark next year when they have a quarterback, hopefully, or if Gardner Minshew gets back. Like, you have a good core of receivers. The only guys that don't really fit into that core are probably Robert Woods, who I'm fine keeping. I'm pretty sure they extended him, and he's a decent enough play, and Adam Thielen. Now, the issue with Adam Thielen, which isn't, like, too much of an issue, is first off, it's a consolidated target share, which is good, but it's extremely low volume, and I think we all know that, and probably you more than anybody being an NFC North fan, that it looks like Justin Jefferson is the answer and the wide receiver of the future. Obviously, Thielen can be the 1B there, but I think he's going to start tailing off. He's already, like, almost 30 years old. I wouldn't be surprised if he's, like, a top 15 receiver again next year. But if you can trade him to a competitor, and do you have your own first-round pick this year?
I do have my own first.
Yeah, so that'll probably hurt you in terms of your overall record, which would help your 2021 first-round pick, second-round pick, whatever else you have, and try to recoup value for a guy like Thielen because he's still a top 10 receiver this year. I'm pretty sure if you sent the package deal, you could probably get, like, a first-round pick in return for a guy like Adam Thielen. With how your team is set up, you look like you'll be able to compete next year. Once Eckler's healthy, once Chubb is healthy, once Mixon is healthy, you won't have to trot out David Montgomery and Justin Jackson. And then your receivers are in decent enough situations to be able to produce next year. Like, I have no doubt Rager's going to be the wide receiver one in Philly. Tyler Boyd is a target hog. DJ Chark is a wide receiver one in Jacksonville. And you have Laviska Shenault for a little insurance there. And Robert Woods is just a consistent older version of Tyler Boyd. So that's something I would consider. But overall, I don't think you're in a bad spot. And I honestly think with the type of roster you have and, like, the matchups that guys like Robert Woods have upcoming and hopefully Nick Chubb once he gets back from injury, I think you'll be able to compete for, like, second or third or maybe even squeeze out the championship this year if the other guy suffers some injuries because he didn't look to have too much depth there.
Right, yeah, that was the one thing. And there was I know we said we weren't going to be doing like a trade video, but the guy, let me find his roster. this guy right here this is who I'm playing this week. He's starting Chase Daniel at quarterback. He's been begging me for Lamar for, I'd say, about 3 weeks now, and I'm not really looking to push Lamar unless I can get a Kamara out of it. And I think I'm having him on the verge because his quarterback situation is so bad in a super flex right now, to where he's thinking about doing it. Do you think that's something I should pull the trigger on, or is that something I should hold Lamar for the dynasty value?
To be honest, Lamar's, I haven't updated my ranks, but he's somebody that's going to be moving down. Obviously, he's still like a first-round starter pick or like a fringe second. He's just moving down within the quarterback tier because I believe I'd much rather have a guy like Kyler Murray and a Deshaun Watson. So he's still like a top 5 quarterback. He's still valuable. But that offense, to me, is just weird. Like, they don't always need to score because their defense is so good, yet they score a lot. And then you look at the box score, and it's like, who put up any fantasy points? Like, it's just all Willie Snead and a bunch of bums who, like, never start. So Lamar Jackson is tricky for me because we saw last year just how good he was. He put up a historic season. Guy runs for 1 million yards, 1 million touchdowns. He somehow throws touchdowns, even though it looks like he's skipping rocks out there. But just straight up, 1-for-1, in a startup draft, I would take Kamara over Lamar Jackson. But in your situation, that would leave you a little bit thin at quarterback. I think if you could do a deal like a Lamar Jackson plus maybe an Adam Thielen and a piece for Alvin Kamara and Jared Goff, just so you can have that third quarterback, because I know Tannehill is fine and Josh Allen is fine. If you can have that third quarterback plus a guy like Alvin Kamara to put in your running back position, like if you can trot out Kamara, Mixon, Chubb, Austin Eckler next year, like even if 2 quarterbacks have the same bye, I'm fine playing one of those running backs in the super flex spot over a bum quarterback that you're going to fill in like a Nick Mullins if a quarterback goes down with an injury.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you look, obviously injuries have hurt you a lot this year. I assume next year is going to be a little bit more favorable, not as many soft tissue injuries with no training camp and stuff happening this year. I think next year you're going to be in a really good position to compete because not only do you have Josh Allen, and if you do give up Lamar Jackson, that type of deal, but you'll have probably 4 top 10 and like 3 top 5-ish running backs going into next season, and having quarterbacks on top of that and having young wide receivers that have breakout potential as well, as your team's going to look a lot better next year than it does this year, and your team already looks great this year.
And then are you cool if we look at like another league or two?
Yeah,
or
I got time.
Awesome. So this one is one I just found on Instagram. I can't get a bunch of people to play with. Not a bunch of my friends like fantasy football, so sometimes I'm just in the league with a bunch of randoms. So I took this one out. Again, it was the same kind of instance. This one was a free league with injuries hitting me fast and hard early on. So from week 1, I went to the mind process of I'm just tanking. I'm tanking, getting as many picks, as many young rookies, players as possible. And this is what I have so far. So here is the starting lineup for this week.
I like the 2 quarterbacks up top. I see one on the bottom. Can you scroll up a little bit just so we can't see him?
Yeah.
Otherwise,
scroll up a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to see that guy's face. I mean, it depends on how many picks you have. By what you said, it looks like you're going to have a lot of picks, but that's definitely a good core to build around with Antonio Gibson, with DeAndre Swift, Tua, and Justin Herbert. Moss is whatever. And you obviously have decent enough receivers just from your starting lineup. I'm sure you've been hit by injuries if you're starting Trent Taylor. So
no, 100%.
Yeah, let's take a look at the bench and your picks.
That's all right. So we got the bench here, and then let me know when you are ready to go down to like the IR and then the taxi squad picks.
Yeah, so you're definitely in a good spot with CeeDee Lamb and Myles Gaskin's weird because I feel like they're a team that we think is super smart and not going to invest in the running back position for next year. But at the same time, it's like I think they probably will. I'm not sure they're going to want to go into 2021 with like a revamped team and trot out Myles Gaskin. Like we all know running backs don't matter, but I just can't see that happening. That's not to say I'm going out to sell Myles Gaskin, because if he like blows up over the second half of the year when he comes back from his injury, there's probably no reason for them to give up on him. But I don't know. I think your running backs as is, even without Myles Gaskin, are in a pretty good spot. And obviously CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and you had Calvin Ridley. That's a pretty good trio right there.
Awesome. Then,
blow me away with the IR. I know you got some.
Nothing crazy. This one, I traded most of the people that were hurt, like Saquon. I had off rip, traded him. This is what we got now. So I'll let you go down to the picks a little bit as well, so you can see what we got.
You become a fan of, and you have a whole lot of capital. You got 3 firsts, 3 seconds, 2/3. When the draft comes around, depending how high those seconds are, you could probably move like 2 or 3 of those for a pretty good first, or like package a second and a first to move up. You're going to be in a great spot. You have, I'm pretty sure, like if you're in 4 dynasty leagues, you've heard about the 2021 class. It's going to be extremely deep. Depending on your record, which you said you're tanking, you could probably get Trevor Lawrence to beef up that quarterback room that you have, or a Justin Fields. And then on top of that, you'll probably have enough capital to get one of the elite running backs, one of the elite wide receivers. So I think going forward, you're in a good spot. You're probably a few years out from really competing, just because those running backs like a Zach Moss, I'm not sure he's going to be an RB1 next year or ever an RB1, but I think in the future he might provide like RB2 value. Same with Antonio Gibson. Once he gets comfortable at the position, he's obviously going to produce a little bit better than he is right now, or more consistently. And then Jeudy as well. Like, we know wide receivers, I guess not, like a lot of receivers have been producing early, but I think him in what situation that he's in, where it's kind of like a shit show year one with a bunch of quarterbacks and injuries going down around him, it's going to take a little bit for him to start kicking in. But with that type of capital and with the young assets you have, I think you're in a really good spot in the future.
Awesome. Now, a question on Jerry Jeudy. Like, he's been just watching some Denver games. You know, I'm the AFC West. I don't really get to see a ton of games. He's been dropping a ton of passes. Do you think that's like a cause for concern, or is that just the quarterbacks giving him shitty throws at the end of the day?
It's a little concerning, because we saw it in college too. Like his last year, that was a big knock on him, because in contested situations, he's not a guy who goes up there with who makes great hands catches, right? He gets himself open so he doesn't have to make those contested catches. In those contested situations, he isn't the best. I do think that when you get a guy like Courtland Sutton back, and when you have a competent quarterback and Noah Fant at full health and Jerry Jeudy just developing his game, he's probably going to get a little more separation than he's been getting, probably haul in a little bit more of those passes when it's not going to be like they have a safety over top trying to account for him because they have nobody else to focus on. I guess Tim Patrick thinks he's good at football, but that remains to be seen. So I do think that the drop issue kind of is an issue, but for fantasy purposes, this is a team that's going to have to compete with Justin Herbert going forward, Patrick Mahomes going forward. They're going to have to keep throwing. There's going to be volume. It's going to be consolidated target share like we see in Seattle and Minnesota. I think he's going to have enough volume that even if he drops a few passes here and there, we've seen Julian Edelman lead the league in drops and be a wide receiver 1. Gallup last year was 2nd, and he was still a top 24 receiver. It's not great that a receiver's dropping passes. They're not doing the only job that they have, basically, but I think he's too talented to let that really tank his value overall.
Okay, got it. Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Thanks for supporting us. This is the least I could do.
No problem. And then, so there's one league I have. So there's two. One's a dynasty, and then another one is a redraft. I don't know how much time you have, but I'll let you pick between which one you want to see. If we have enough time, we can maybe see both.
Yeah, I got time for one more. So whichever one you think is more interesting, I guess.
All right. Well, the redraft is a 20-man or 18-man league. And it's rough. And then the dynasty, a 12-man dynasty, and I'm top of the division in it. I'll let you pick whatever one you want. I don't mind sharing whatever one you think.
Let's look at the top of the division one, because you've had a rebuild, you've had a competitor. Let's see the cream of the crop.
And then this one, off-rip running backs are horrible. I will let you know now. And I'm starting 2 tight ends, which off-rip you don't want to see any day of the week.
Do you have any guys on IR, or are your running backs just that bad?
Yeah, my running backs are – I got Chubb again, Mac, who I thought was going to be the lead back. I thought they were going to, gradually bring Taylor into the offense.
Yeah.
So I figured he would be good for a good part of the first part of the season at least.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it was just you got Myles Gaskin again, just a bunch of flyers.
What are your picks looking like? Do you have any, or you sold them off?
So the first round pick from Frank is right now projected top 3, I would say. He's the bottom of his division. I believe he is 2-6, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just pull this up. 3-5. So he is at the bottom of the AFC division.
Yeah, and he's got no points going for him. He's bottom for 4 in points. So his team
his team.
Oh, he's got a blind man at running back. That's probably why.
So his team, here's how they're looking. He's got Jameis Winston. So that
everybody's on bye. That's tough for him.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that definitely looks like it's going to be a primo pick. And then looking back at your team, I don't think obviously if that pick is like top 2, it's hard to not quarterback how it's looking right now. But I think with the squad that you have, you can scroll up a little bit. I forgot who you had, but I know you had Derek Carr on the bench. Yeah, A-Rod and
Deshaun.
Yeah. So your quarterback room is looking pretty nice. I know it's tough to have faith in Fournette, but the team they seem to like him. I mean, Ronald Jones drops a pass every time he's out there. He fumbles the ball every time he's handed it to him. So I think he's somebody that you can be fine with, especially if you have Nick Chubb returning. As far as like the depth of your roster, it's a little bit tough, but no, what's his name? Myles Gaskin is going to be back for the playoff run. They have a decent enough playoff schedule that he's going to be fine. He's going to be easily slotted into your starting lineup over a guy like Jared Cook. So I think you're in obviously a good enough position to make the playoffs. And with the roster that you have, aside from CeeDee Lamb, because I know Nyheim Hines won't be in your starting lineup once Chubb is back, and Jared Cook won't be in your lineup once Gaskin is back. Aside from your wide receiver 2 spot where you have CeeDee Lamb right now, I think you are in a really good spot to compete, and I wouldn't be looking to sell off these veterans because I'd much rather just win a championship now and ride these guys into the sunset, like Mike likes to say, because the value you're going to be able to recoup for a Julio Jones or a Travis Kelce at this point isn't worth trading away because it gives up the opportunity for you to win a championship this year.
Right.
And obviously with the first-round pick that you have next year being as good as it is and the fact that Dak Prescott's going to be back next year, you're going to be in a good spot for your wide receiver position or running back position, no matter who you end up picking next year, whether it's Etienne, Harris, one of the top wide receivers, or if you want to trade back in the first round and get more capital to build up your depth, which if it's like a top 2 pick, I wouldn't mind doing because people are going to pay a whole lot for a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields if they're struggling at the quarterback position in a super flex league.
Yep, I would agree with that completely. Yeah, because I was thinking with this pick, like you said, quarterback isn't the biggest issue. Like you said, I got Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun, and even if Rodgers, something happens, Derek Carr, and then I have Jordan Love down there in my taxi squad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
even
quarterback,
Michael Gallup's probably going to produce a little bit more next year with Dak Prescott back.
I would hope so. I mean, as long as they don't just keep sending him on streaks, maybe he can catch a couple passes. There was a trade I did for Julio in this league not too long ago, and everyone was ripping the dude who made the trade.
I love those. We call those the Scott trades. He just got like Tom Brady and Dalvin Cook for a late first and like 2 bombs. That's one of those moves where like it could make sense for Jay Sequeira's team if he's like young, but then again, like who's Devontae Parker at this point and Darrell Henderson, what's his longevity? It definitely makes sense for you. Like if you put that in a trade calculator app, you're probably losing. But honestly, if you're competing, Julio Jones, I would much rather have a top 3 receiver this year and probably top 12 again next year than a guy in a timeshare backfield on a not so great offense and a wide receiver, the brand new quarterback.
Right. That's what I was thinking in that sense. And then, people were kind of just ripping on him a little bit. He was kind of giving his defense, but I stayed for it.
Yeah. Honestly, if you could make some more of those trades, just like selling off bench assets that are young to people that aren't competing, and if they have an older guy that they're looking to sell low on, like I basically told you in your other league with like an Adam Thielen, selling kind of low on him, just try to buy in on one of those older assets if you think that they're going to be able to produce for you this year. Like even a Marvin Jones, sell him off for like give him like a 4th-round pick or a 4th-round pick and a piece, and he's going to be able to help win you some games if Kenny Golladay is out for a long extended period of time.
From what I'm hearing from the Detroit news, that's exactly what is going to be happening week to week. We're not looking too fond on it right now.
He's out for a while. Damn.
It's week to week, but whenever someone in Detroit's week to week, you can just it's 4 weeks probably. Yeah, they're probably done for the season. Plus, we haven't started contract negotiations with him. Contract ends at the end of the year.
I don't know why. I mean, when I watch the guy play, there's not like 5 receivers I'd rather have over him.
That's what I'm saying. And it was actually it was kind of funny. We went to the Lions game with the picture with the player. We were sitting next to his mom. Mm-hmm. And we didn't realize it till maybe like the 3rd quarter. This was obviously before COVID and everything last season. But she was just saying, like, it was when David Blau was throwing him the passes. And she was like, yeah, he just bitches about him every night.
Yeah, it's tough for him. The only hope I have is the fact that they haven't put him on IR yet, which, I mean, this year it's like 3 weeks off. So maybe it's not too serious. But also, they're the Lions that might be too dumb to put him on IR at this point.
with Patricia and Quinn making the calls, trust me, that I wouldn't put it past him, dude. I would not put it past him. Absolutely horrible.
Is that all you got for this team?
Yep, that's it for this team. So I don't know how much more time you got if you got to go, or if the video's getting too long for you.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap it up right here, but I appreciate having you on. It was fun to talk to you and looking at these teams. It was nice to see a competitor. I might have to just black this out. I'm like so dark right now. All right, we're real bright with that like yellow light. Makes me look like I got jaundice. But that's all we got for this week's episode. Actually, no, we got a part 3, hopefully. Nobody responded yet, so maybe I sound a little bit needy right now. But if we have a part 3, this video is going to be a little bit longer than it is right now. If we don't have a part 3, then I guess we'll see you guys in 2 weeks when we bring on a few more guests. Tyler, it was great to have you on. If you ever want to come on in the future, just post in our Discord. And if any one of you guys want to be on, join our Patreon. You get access to the Discord. You get to talk shit. You got to be like, hey, FB God, which not a fan of that name. If you're like, hey, can I come on one of those episodes? I'll probably tell you yes, because I'm looking for people to come on, and it seems like most of the people that are on here have a good time, and I have a good time doing it. So thanks for coming on, Tyler. Hopefully you had a good time, and thank you for all the support you guys show.
Thanks for having me, dude. I really appreciate it.
Cool. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Let's hit the outro or hit part 3. You guys will see whatever happens in post. What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome back to part 3. I always say welcome back. It's always the same video, and I always say this part of the video when I said welcome back. So we're going to jump into it with my man Tarek here. We're going to look at some of his rosters and also just talk a little football because we don't get enough of that. I know in Bunkbed Breakdowns we try to be all analytical. We've moved away from that a little bit. We just kind of joke around about random shit because at this point of the year, football is football. We know what's going on. We know David Montgomery stinks. We know David Johnson stinks. We know Dalvin Cook is good. There's not much to talk about. So hopefully there's some interesting questions posed and stuff like that in this part of the episode. But first off, we're just going to start looking at my man Tarek's roster. So let's kick it off with that.
Yeah, with this first one, this is a IDP league. I know you guys don't really give a lot of love to defensive players, but
yeah, I'm not a fan of defenses. I like when they don't do well, so my players do. Looking at your team, doesn't look like there's too many issues. How many teams are in this league? 12?
There's 12 in this one. The thing is, though, it's not so much my team. This is a pretty good team. But the thing is, though, is that the 2 top teams are just, like, crazy good. And I actually just, like, lucked out and beat one of them. So he was projected to beat me by, like, 50 points. And I ended up lucking out because Joe Flacco saved my ass. He was playing New England defense. He was playing the New England defense, and I was only up by a little bit. So, he ended up, I think, only getting like 1 point for his New England defense.
That's what happens when you have an elite quarterback going up against a mediocre defense. Just 1 point.
Yeah. But I'm pretty worried about Christian McCaffrey. Actually flipped him for Derrick Henry in another league, and then Derrick had that shit game where he only got like 6 points. But I flipped him because I was looking ahead to that playoffs, those last 3 games, and all I saw was green. So I was pretty excited about that, and I thought, like, Christian McCaffrey, and when I saw he got like 30 points, I was just like, man, did I make a terrible decision there? But
no, I don't know what's up with his injury, though. It's sounding like I saw Dr. Jesse Morse tweet it out, and not to like throw shade at him, but he put out a video like immediately like, oh, it's a rib injury. He could miss time or he could be fine. And then it turns out it isn't a rib. And now he's saying if it's I don't know if it's like called a tier or like whatever. Tier 1 is he'll play this week. 2 or 3, he'll miss 2 to 4 weeks. And then 4, he's out for the season. He said it's likely a 2 or 3, which means he'll probably sit through the bye. So I definitely don't hate that trade getting Derrick Henry, especially because I think Tennessee has like one of the best playoff schedules in terms of fantasy. I know down the stretch it's like super soft. As for Carolina, though, like once McCaffrey's on the field, if he goes back on the field, he's locked in top 1, top 2. But if you need wins now, I'd definitely make that trade. I'd make the trade for Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, even an Aaron Jones. I'd probably rather him than McCaffrey if you're really desperate for wins.
So in another league, I got real ballsy. I traded James Robinson and Keenan Allen away for Dalvin Cook. Got 2 huge games from him, and then traded away Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey for Aaron Jones and Alvin Kamara.
That's kind of crazy, but I don't hate it.
It's a pretty ballsy move, and it's all just on the crux of those playoff games at the end. So,
Yeah, and I've had a tough time. I know a lot of people have Kamara as their running back one rest of season. He's got a tough schedule too. And it seems like, not that he doesn't get the respect he deserves, but Aaron Jones, every time he's on the field, has basically produced almost at Kamara's level, other than those two like huge games he had early in the season. I mean, he's involved in the passing game. He gets all the goal line work. And we saw last game when he was like less than 100%, but got like 20 touches. The goal line work wasn't there because Aaron Rodgers just wanted to run up his touchdown numbers. But you're getting the goal line work on an elite offense with an elite quarterback, as opposed to Kamara, who the offense I would say is a little bit worse than Green Bay, isn't going to have the receiving upside with Michael Thomas. They're probably still more than what Aaron Jones is going to get, but I think those two guys are much closer than it may seem. As for Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook, we just touched on it. It's like Dalvin Cook's got a tough schedule. You're always going to play him. And then McCaffrey, we really don't know what's going on with his injury. And like, if you're going to buy him, this is the time to buy him. If you're going to sell him, this is the time to sell him because it's so much up in the air. Like if he's out for the rest of the season, you're not going to get anything for him.
So I'm looking to sell him. But the thing is, though, I'm trying to package him with Thielen because I know that Dalvin Cook is just destroying Thielen's production. And also the same thing with Justin Jefferson, too. He's eating into them. Would he throw 20 passes in the last game?
That's all he's got to do, I guess.
Yeah, that's all he's got to do. So I'm looking to package him up. I feel pretty good about Hunt. A.J. Brown is one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL, so I'm going to start him regardless. And then,
yeah, he's got a tough schedule, but I don't think it matters. A.J. Brown needs like 3 catches a game to be a wide receiver one, and that's what he's going to get.
Yeah. And then Tyler Boyd, I have him in every league, and I'm very, very stoked for that.
That was like my one prediction that actually hit this year was Tyler Boyd was going to be good at football. And guess what? He's been really good, and he's got one of the best schedules for the rest of the season. So I like him a lot. He's perfect as a wide receiver 3.
Yeah, those last couple of games they're all green, so I'm pretty excited about that. Travis Kelce, he's been like the only decent tight end league this year, so he's been winning me a lot of games. I got some pretty decent running backs just in case, one of those top guys, gets hurt. Except I have Latavius and Jamal in this league. I don't have him in any other leagues that I actually have Aaron Jones or Kamara. So.
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Williams is somebody I'm willing to hold, like, no matter what. Latavius Murray as well, just because if the starter gets hurt, they're going to be top 12 and, like, maybe even top 5, depending on matchup type of running backs on any given week. So I like that a lot. For you, though, you said you're trying to trade away Christian McCaffrey in a package.
Yeah, with Thielen.
Who owns Miles Sanders in your league? Because that's a guy that I'm willing to buy because of his schedule and getting a receiver on top.
Let me show you the top 2 teams, and you're just going to throw up. So they're actually playing each other right now. This is the guy that I just beat somehow, even though he was projected to beat me by 50 points. He's got Russell Wilson, Diggs, Hopkins, Connor, Kamara. Mark Andrews isn't done shit. Travis Fulgham came out of nowhere. Yeah,
he's got Gaskin hiding down there too. Yeah, that's a really good team. That's a very good team.
You don't give a shit about defense.
Yeah, I don't really know how to value defensive players. I saw Malcolm Butler though, so unless it's the Super Bowl, I don't know too much about him.
It's super easy. It's just you look at who's scoring the most points, and then you just try to get. Usually, people don't pay attention. There he is.
Hey, T fell nasty. He's in one of my leagues.
Is he?
Yeah,
he's in my other BDG league in the sleeper. So.
Oh yeah, this guy. Oh, he's the one with Miles Sanders.
Yeah, he's got Miles Sanders. And he just waited forever for him to come back. Isn't that the funniest is when you have somebody like I had Christian McCaffrey and I traded him right when he came back for Derrick Henry.
Yeah. It's always the same thing. It's like you hold on to him for so long and then they finally play and you get hype and it's like maybe I should just trade him while his value is high. It's like sometimes it just hurts your heart. But like this guy's team is ridiculous. He's got a blind man on the bench too. He's got some good handcuffs. George Kittle on IR. Yeah, this guy, it's a monster. But I don't think that you're out of it though. I think if you can trade I know Adam Thielen hasn't been great lately, and after this week, it's probably not going to be an opportunity for you to sell because he's playing Chicago, and the trade deadline is probably this week for you guys anyways. But I think you can pair it up and try to get an Aaron Jones plus or a James, or I think that guy had James Robinson, so maybe not. But like one of those top 8-ish guys plus another piece, I'll definitely do it.
Yeah, I did just trade away James Robinson. I don't know how I feel about him with I know he had a really good game with Luton.
Mm-hmm.
That game was pretty crazy too, with him scampering for that touchdown. So he might end up being decent, but I'm not sure. This guy has Derrick Henry. So I was trying to package something for Derrick Henry.
It's going to be tough because he does have Justin Jefferson as well.
Yeah, and I don't want him. I don't think he'll give up Lockett.
I like Robbie Anderson. His schedule looks tough, but you got to realize also Carolina just throws all the time, especially now with McCaffrey looking to be out. Even when he was playing, last game, Robbie Anderson went 9 for 63 on 15 targets or some bullshit. He's just going to see a whole lot of volume anyways, and those are all games that they're going to throw, other than maybe Washington. I mean, Denver's defense.
Washington somehow, I don't know how the hell they're so good at the back end. I can't even name a single player they have.
Don't they Fabian Moreau or something? I don't know. The island of Fabian Moreau. It's also you got to look at who they've been playing. They played the Giants twice, who don't have any world beater wide receivers, so their points allowed is probably pretty low because of that.
Yeah, he's got Jamal. I know Jamal Adams and Roquan Smith. Those have been two of the best guys in IDP. So I'm trying to get them to, and I'm trying to see who has Aaron Jones. I can't remember. I think it actually is TFL. Yeah. I was trying to actually package something to get Josh Jacobs. He declined. I had to throw it out there. Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
McCaffrey and Thielen. He declined that. And this one's still sitting. I asked for Josh Jacobs and Robert Woods. Because Robert Woods, he's been doing pretty good, I think, this season. And then he's got a pretty good last couple of games, too.
He does. The thing that worries me about Robert Woods, I have him in my home league as well, is you look at what he's done, it's all touchdowns. The yardage isn't there. The volume isn't consistently there. He's like Curtis Samuel at this point. He's getting goal line rushes for some reason, which I guess you can say is unsustainable. But when you do it and you score 2 or 3 of them throughout the season, who knows? Yeah. He's somebody I'm looking to sell high because people are going to think his schedule is going to help him become a fantasy relevant player. But when you think about it, it's the volume isn't really there on an offense that wants to run the ball. I don't like them too much.
All right. So this is the guy that has Aaron Jones. The thing is, though, is that I'd like to get a wide receiver since I'm giving up one.
Mm-hmm.
Calvin Ridley, even though he has some pretty hard opponents at the end he's still really good.
Yeah. I also think this guy's got Mike Davis too. I don't think he'd be opposed to an Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley for a Christian McCaffrey Thielen trade because he'll have the running back in Carolina. He'll feel like he's safe because he has that backup.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know who. I don't think he'd give up any of his wide receivers, and he only has 2. They're both on bye. Is that accurate? Are they both on bye this week?
Yeah, they are.
You might be more kind of desperate for a wide receiver then. Maybe
I would think so, especially with Corey Davis playing against Indianapolis is pretty good against the pass. And then does he even have a third receiver? Or fourth receiver?
No.
Yeah, I'd probably shoot that off right there too.
Yeah, it looks like he's vulnerable. I need to attack him when he needs it. Okay. Well, I feel pretty good about that one. I'm saying 8-1. That was pretty clutch. Just being able to get a 2-game gap between this other guy because this is a Friday 1. I have him 9th in points for. It doesn't make
Jesus, yeah. You've been lucking out. That guy Zachary's team's got 1,100 points also, and he's 11th place.
Yeah, well, the thing is, though, is that I feel I'm the only guy that's been trading in this league, and I have I don't even have to hit teams because they're all under me.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been monstered. This guy, one of those guys the guy that I just beat, he was bitching about this trade. He said it was totally one-sided. And I'm like, well, you know what? The guy, he accepted it. So then he's been put in his lineup. He didn't
Yeah, that's kind of a wild trade. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
Tyler
it is.
Ervin. Anytime Tyler Ervin is part of a trade, it's you probably shouldn't have made that trade. It's good for you, obviously, but Tyler Ervin and Emmanuel Sanders. You're trading the wide receiver 2 on New Orleans for the wide receiver 1.
And this guy that owns this team, Scotty, he just told the other guy just to cry more about it. So the thing is, though, I hate it when people get all bent out of shape with trades because you have no idea how it's going to turn out. You have no idea.
You don't know how people value players. In my home league, somebody offered up, I think it was like some receiver and something else for Will Fuller and something else. And then he countered back. He's like, I'll give you DK Metcalf for Will Fuller. And it's like, oh, well, okay, I'll take DK Metcalf. Like the first receiver he wanted or was going to give up was a lot less valuable than DK Metcalf. He's like, no, I'd rather give you DK Metcalf. And then I get Will Fuller. It's like, okay, I'll take it. You don't know how people value players.
Yeah, I'll give you probably the best upcoming wide receiver for a guy who can't keep his hamstring.
It was a redraft league, so it wasn't too much like future held on to it.
Yeah, but I've gotten really lucky. Look, I traded away Scam Newton, Tanyan for Kelsey.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at Tanyan's numbers, he's still like the 5th best tight end on a points per game basis, and it's all because of 1 week. It's just how bad the tight end.
It was after that 1 week too. It was this after his three touchdown.
Yeah, and Kelsey probably had a pedestrian 9 catches for 150 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, and then I traded as soon as I got Thomas. I knew I didn't want anything with him. I just wanted him as a bargain in piece, and I got McCaffrey and then I traded away all this trash.
Hey, Eckler, watch it. I do think he's probably not going to play the rest of this year, though. So
I might transition into because I feel. I mean, we already talked about this one. I feel like I'm pretty solid on what to do with this league. We'll transition that with this is my inaugural season for my dynasty league. So I'm sitting at 5-4 right now, and I really wish I watched the video that you guys posted on the value of draft picks because at the beginning of the season, I ended up trading away Michael Pittman, Noah Fant, Denzel Mims. Before the season started, I had 4 first-round picks, 3 second-round picks to my name. And then I started looking around the league, and I was just like, this league's kind of up for grabs because there's a lot of people who have kind of trash teams. So I ended up trading 2 of those first-round picks for Josh Jacobs because he's one of my favorite running backs in the league. I also just love John Gruden. He's probably him and Bruce Arians are my 2 favorite coaches, in the league. So I ended up trading 2 for Josh Jacobs, and I traded away 1 for Boyd and 1 for Eckler. And
in the grand scheme of things, those aren't, unless those are really high picks, those aren't bad value plays. I know the Eckler one didn't really work out, and Josh Jacobs hasn't worked out for you right now, but yeah. Sometimes you just have to hold on to those ones until you see how things in your league pan out because teams that look shit could end up being really good. Like one guy in our league traded everything to stack Sammy Watkins with Patrick Mahomes, and the rest of his team was garbage. And then right now he's 6-3 somehow. So you never really know where those picks are going to end up or how the league's going to shake out.
Yeah. So I did end up trading away because I saw that I wasn't going to win this year. And I ended up trading Eckler back to the guy I got him from so I can get back into the first round because I saw that, I wasn't going to be able to this year and not win it.
Where's that one looking like it's going to be? Early, mid, late?
It's probably going to be a mid. I've been scoring pretty decent. But the thing is, though, is that I'm not going to go out of my way to really worry about trying to win every single game because I want a better pick. And with this league, because a lot of times the consolation bracket doesn't really mean anything to a lot of people. So what I did with this league is that if you win the consolation bracket, you'll have 73 odds to get that first place.
The first overall pick?
First overall pick.
So it avoids tanking, really.
Yeah, it's also to avoid tanking. So it gives. So if you end up winning the consolation bracket, so if I try to get in 7th place, that's what I'm looking forward to do: get a first round bye, and then try to win either the first or second pick overall, and just hope that the guy. If you look at my team, I really want Jamar Chase because with the running backs that I have with Jacobs. Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins. I did have Eckler at one point, and I remember I was talking. Nick ended up saying, that's a really stacked running back road, but
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think Jacobs is still like 22 years old. Taylor and Dobbins are super young. That's a great core to build around. I know Jonathan Taylor's been real shitty this year, and Dobbins hasn't shown much. But when you're that young, that talented on offenses that want to run the ball, I have no doubt that you're going to have like 3 top 15 at the very least running backs going forward.
Anything that is Baltimore Ravens this year, I'm just like chalking it up to Madden curse.
Mm-hmm.
So,
on the cover, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. And you guys haven't even mentioned that. I mean, every time you guys talk about,
I haven't played Madden in a long time.
Every time you guys talk about Lamar and why he's struggling, that's the number one reason right there, and you guys aren't talking about it. So
we'll bring it up next episode. I didn't know he's on the cover this year.
Yeah, he got with his MVP last year. He actually had a really cool cover too. He had all these like really fancy photos and stuff like that on the
Yeah,
cover.
I thought Herbert was on the cover, which is why we're losing all these games, but I guess not. I just learned Lamar Jackson made it over Herbert, which doesn't make sense to me, even though he never played down a football.
But with the first round pick in this one, after I was like the 4th pick, they took CMC, they took Saquon, they took Zeke, and then I took Patrick Mahomes because I'm like, if this is going to be a dynasty league, I won't have to worry about quarterback for the next 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. And this is I have in all my leagues, it's 6 points for a touchdown for throwing. So,
what's interceptions in this?
-2.
I mean, yeah, Mahomes, I know like it's crazy in a 1 quarterback league to pick him, but you're basically going to not have to worry about quarterback for like 15 years and have the highest scoring quarterback. Like I'd say at least 13 of those.
Yeah. And it's awesome too when you're watching like a Monday Night Football game and he's thrown like 5 touchdowns and you just look at your team and you have like 50 points and it's just like that's just be like every other week it feels like.
Yeah, and you hit that Terrell Owens cry meme. That's my quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. I've not been happy with Marquise. Just like that tweet. He's a soldier. He just needs to get some passes. He needs to be involved in the battle. He still didn't get anything this last game, but at least they won.
Yeah, he's somebody that I was adamantly off on the offseason. I'm like, yeah, it's just he's a deep threat. I know he can do a lot more than that, but they use him as a deep threat on an offense with a quarterback that doesn't really throw deep a whole bunch. And when he does, he's not accurate. I just don't see any production. Week 1, he does really well. Everybody says I'm a fraud. And then rest of the season, look what he's done. So, like, he's somebody that I'm not too high on. I just don't think he fits the team's mold very well.
He was last year, his Lamar's MVP year. I mean, they were using him in some clutch moments. Like I remember against like the Cardinals. I don't know when they played them. They played against T-Sizzle. He had some pretty big games. I remember he destroyed the Rams single-handedly. I think he had like 3 touchdowns on that.
The thing about him though, it's like Darius Slayton. You're not like the weeks that he goes off are the weeks you probably didn't start him because the previous 5 weeks he got you like 3 catches for 25 yards. Like last year, I remember tweeting something out. I think he had something like 600, 700 yards and 7 touchdowns. Like 45% of his fantasy production came in week 1 and the final week of the season when you weren't starting in week 1 and you probably weren't starting at the end of the season after he gave you all those dud games.
I think they use him like A.J. Brown. It's just like you just give him like 3 slants. He'll take each of those for like 30 or 40 yards. I mean, you could still be a running team,
Yeah, that offense it's just weird. Like Mark Andrews isn't eating. All their running backs are like good, but you can't really rely on any of them right now because they just use them so like in such a weird way. And even Lamar's not doing too well in fantasy this year. Yet the team keeps winning. So I don't understand how they score points. Like I look at the box score every week. I'm like, how did they put up 35? I don't see anybody scoring points. It happens, but it happens in a way that doesn't help anybody for fantasy.
Yeah, they have. I think in the last game they talked about how they had one of the most. I think like 31 consecutive games where they've scored at least 20 points.
That's pretty good, I've heard.
Yeah, it's pretty. I think it's the longest streak in the league. I guess somehow the Chiefs didn't score 20 points 1 week or something like that, but they've been doing it for a while. They've been putting up a lot of points. I think it's just the defense keeps them in the games. But anytime they fall behind, they don't know how to throw the damn ball, which is super frustrating when they have super talented players and stuff like that. So, and then I got some – I don't know what you think of some of these other players, if you think they're going to turn into anything.
Just looking at it, there aren't many guys here that I have hope for, especially with the team build that you have. Like, you obviously have a super young running back core, which is good because they peak early. So it's not too bad to have like a Stephon Diggs, or I know Mike Evans isn't doing too well right now, but like guys in that age range who are probably going to be in their prime when your running backs are in their prime. But if you look at your guys like Devontae Parker, sure, he's in that age range, but we've seen that Tua doesn't really favor him all too heavily. It was like basically a Preston Williams show. I know he just got hurt. But Parker is somebody that, especially with the way your team looks, I wouldn't be opposed to selling him off and maybe a piece and getting either a 2 or a 1 for him, just because I don't think he's going to really help you do much. Maybe this year he'll help you win the consolation bracket. Same with Antonio Brown. I mean, what's his longevity in the league? This team has so many weapons.
Until he tweets something absolutely insane. I want to try to get rid of him this year.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, he's not going to help you in the future, and you're obviously like not contending right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then some guy just dropped this guy right here, Jimmy G. I just picked him up just to see what the hell, because I don't have anyone at backup quarterback except Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I think. Well, how many first-round picks do you have next year? Just yours?
Just one. Yeah. So with that one, when I traded back to get my first-round pick, what I meant to do was, because this guy is last in the league, and I accidentally countered where I took my first-round pick back instead of his first-round pick, and I was so pissed off at myself.
You jumped all over that, yeah.
Where I was just like, oh, shit. I could have had the number 1 overall pick, but I would have felt bad, you know? It's just like this guy I invited to my league. Everyone's just been, like, finessing him with the trades and stuff like that. I gave him at one point Burrow, and then he gave him and CMC away for like Kareem Hunt, CeeDee Lamb. He's a huge Cowboys fan. Jerry Jeudy, and like a pick. And I'm like, dude, you just gave away like 2 of the best pieces that are going to be. And he's
Scott special, except he's on the other side of the deal.
Yeah. So he got Eckler back, and he gets to keep his first. And he has the number 1 overall. So it's
Yeah, all I'd recommend with your team, can you trade 2022s right now, or do you have to like buy into that first?
No, we have to wait until the draft is over until we see next year's. It's not like Sleeper. I don't even know if there's a setting on Yahoo where you can allow like future draft picks. But
it's not even like loaded onto the website right now.
It's like I don't think you have that ability on Yahoo.
Yeah, because what I would have said is just like trade off a guy like Devontae Parker or an Antonio Brown for 2022 firsts. Like, it's much easier to get a 2022 first than a 2021 first at this point. Obviously, we don't know how that class is going to shake out, but the way your team's looking, I'd rather just invest heavily in draft picks because they hold their value. Whereas a guy like Devontae Parker can't really go up from where he started this season. Antonio Brown, I don't see him being much of a dynasty asset either.
Would it be stupid of me to be like, hey, anyone that's on my bench is like a second or third round pick? If you want to give you guys,
everybody in your bench other than Dobbins, I would take a second for, and obviously like Mahomes, but he's on bye.
Yeah, so you would be okay with giving away any of these pieces?
Yeah, I'd be fine with 3s for most of them, like Marcus Johnson, Jordan Reed, Devine Azebo, like everybody other than I'd say Devontae Parker, and I think like Antonio Brown. Other than that, I'd be fine giving up a 3 for them, or getting a 3 for them.
And that's just basically based on the hope that that rookie that's going to come in is going to be better. You know?
Yeah, I mean,
all these guys are starters though. So
which ones?
It's like it's hard to know whether or not like a rookie who's going to be like 4th or 5th on the depth chart that you're getting in the 3rd round is going to be worth the same as like I don't know, Brian Hill, who is just 1 knee injury away from being a starter.
Yeah, but that's like the upside. That's the type of shots you got to take. Like, you could have gotten a guy like Laviska Shenault in the 3rd. I got Antonio Gibson in the 3rd in one of my drafts. T. Higgins was going like middle 2nd. So it's not too unrealistic. And obviously those were like all super flex, so they could push down a little bit. But guys like Brian Hill, it's only a rental. And if you want to be competing for a championship in the next 2 or 3 years, I'm not sure that a guy like Brian Hill is going to do it for you for an entire season. Whereas one of those guys could eventually break out like a James Robinson.
Here's the guy that's going to win it this year. He got pretty stacked with it. He gave away all of his picks, though.
He's probably going to win it next year, too. He's got Tyreek Hill on his bench also.
So I really wish I had more ammo as far as picks go, because since he doesn't have any picks, I really wanted to give away like a first for like Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown. Because those two guys in particular, I think, are right there with DK as far as like I would absolutely love.
Yeah, this guy's got like 3 of the top 5 dynasty receivers in AJ Brown, Devontae, and Tyreek Hill.
And then he ended up just picking up James Robinson.
This guy's got an absolute fucking stallion of a team. That's going to be tough to beat this year and next year.
But he's got no picks, so that's the thing, though. Is just like, talking about rookie fever and stuff like that. Once the draft starts coming around, see these guys in this league, it's so frustrating because during the off season. So when we actually did our draft in June, and I think it was because with COVID, everyone was just like, we need something to do, something to look forward to. So we did our draft in June. I usually wait until the 3rd preseason game just because of injuries and stuff like that. And then they brought up the point where it's just like, yeah, but you can have an injury in week 1 and be gone for the season. So I'm like, all right, fine. So we ended up doing that. There was a total of 13 trades before week 1. It's just like people got so bored and just wanted to do something and stuff like that. So that's how I ended up getting like 4 first-round picks and then trading them away and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think in our leagues, we had like 13 trades in the first hour of the league being set up. It's like, it's real hectic. We also draft usually like before the rookie draft. So like if I were to do a startup this year, I'd probably draft sometime in like March. So for me, like dynasty startups and dynasty drafts, I don't really care. Like redraft, definitely wait after the 3rd preseason game. But dynasty, it's like you're going to have these guys forever. So like if they get hurt this year, you're still like, you have to always bake that in. Like a guy like Dalvin Cook, like he has the injury bug. That there's probably a good chance he's going to miss a few games here and there. So it doesn't really matter too much about preseason because you're going to have him the next year and hope he's healthy the next year. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of trades. The earlier you do it, the more anxious people are to get football back on their minds. They'll trade anything for literally anything. And it's a good time to get some good value because people are just desperate to like have a notification on their phone.
Yeah.
That's football.
Yeah, they're clenched right now. There hasn't been almost anything during the season. It was all, before the season. So, during the off season, if they're just as much as Dunskies as they were, during last year's off season, it might just be the time for me to strike because this guy, he offered me Kamara for JT, my 1st-round pick, and Davis. And I told him, I was like, dude, you're not going to be happy with that, I don't think I'm going to be happy with that because I'm going to get Kamara. I have no idea what the Saints offense is going to look like with Winston. It's probably going to be pretty decent. But, Kamara, what is he like, right? Is he 25 right now? I
think he's 25, but he just got like re-signed. And I think he doesn't have the workload on him, both back in college and in the NFL, that I think he's going to be fine, especially like him being a receiver out of the backfield. I think he has some longevity. Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of like the idea of having that. So with that 1st-round pick, would you just – because I remember you guys talked about, you don't always use all those picks. You package them so you can get veteran players to be able to, stack your team. I don't have that much ammo right now. I'm hoping that Antonio Brown has an Antonio Brown kind of game, and I could try to sell him for a team that, is trying to make a playoff push, or somebody else. Maybe Gurley gets hurt, and I can trade Brian Hill for, I don't know, a 2nd-round pick, early 2nd, or late round 1st. I don't know. But would you just hold on to that pick? Would you just draft the player, or would you try I would
to
hold
trade
on
it?
to that pick. The picks gain so much value once the season is over because right now, like people that are competing aren't going to want to give up a good player for a pick, and people that aren't competing, the value of that pick is only going to skyrocket because once you find out who's declaring, once you see them at the combine, like Jonathan Taylor, once he ran a 4.38, that 101 pick became the value of a 1st-round startup pick. Whereas I think we did a video prior to the combine, prior to the draft, where we're like, okay, where would these picks go in a startup? And we said the 101, like we would like trade a 3rd-round startup pick for it. Once Jonathan Taylor blew up, once Clyde Edwards-Helaire landed in Kansas City, those picks that were viewed as 3rd-round startup picks around the value of a Calvin Ridley, went to first-round startup picks at that time around the value of a Dalvin Cook. So this year, when a guy like Najee Harris, if he breaks a 4.5, if he goes into the 4.4s, that value of that pick is going to skyrocket. If Chuba Hubbard runs a 4.3, if ETN and when ETN runs a 4.3, those are going to be almost first round startup picks. When you see that these guys are landing in good spots, when you see Justin Fields lands in maybe Jacksonville with the weapons like Laviska Shenault, with James Robinson, with DJ Chark, people are going to be like, well, he can run and he can throw and he has weapons to throw too. And Minshew isn't a good quarterback and he's still kind of top 12 when he plays. All those things add up for those picks to really skyrocket. And for your team, especially if your pick is like middling or back end of the first round, what I would try to do, and it all depends, it's a few months out from now, but I wouldn't mind trading your 1 for like 2 2s and a 3, just to have yourself like more depth, more value, and more volume in young players. And I know it sounds a little bit crazy to do something like that, but you compare it to this year, like if you had a back end 1 and you trade it for like 2 mid 2s, you could have turned a Jalen Reagor into T. Higgins and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah. So with the guy, so right now there's like 2 guys in our league, Cock and Bloodfart. I don't know if I could say that online.
No, you can say whatever. This channel has like no bounds.
Yeah. I'm not going to say that one over there, but they have all the picks, first and the second round. I asked Blood, hey, I'm probably going to have a mid first round pick. What if I trade? Because he has like Roshi's pick. He's got another guy that has a top team, Vikings. He has both of their picks. And I asked, hey, what if I trade my mid round pick for your late round pick and like a second? No. So these guys are like, I don't know, this really clenching like their picks right now. They don't trust anybody right now, but that might change. They might change their tune, once the season is over and, they get that rookie.
Yeah, once the draft is like happening too, you'll see that people like, if a player falls that you like, people will pay the iron price for it. Like in one of my leagues, I had, I think 4 4th round picks and that's it. And it was like the 2-8, like the 208 pick, and Antonio Gibson was on the board and I knew I wanted him. I offered all 4 4th round picks for him. It got declined. He didn't pick Antonio Gibson. And the same thing at the 209. I offered it. They declined. They took somebody else. All the way until the 302, and Tony Gibson was still there. I offered all 4 of those picks and a piece on top just so I could draft Antonio Gibson. So if there's players there that you really want or other people in your league really want, they're like fans of Alabama and they want a Jalen Waddle and he's still on the board. They might pay the iron price to move up to get him and you might be able to benefit off of that. So if you're going to do a trade like that, I would honestly just wait until the draft comes around where those picks, like where they'll be. And if a player that somebody really wants is on the board, you can probably finagle them for a good value at that price or at that point.
Yeah. I mean, a part of me wants to be like, hey, to the guy that has that stacked team, I'll give you a first for Tyreek and AJ Brown, but I don't know if he'd go for that.
Yeah, I don't think he would do that.
Yeah, I don't know. He gave up all of his picks each of those picks just for like one player, but I mean, it looked like it worked out for him. But all right, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good plan. I don't know. I've been looking a lot into this year's draft class and stuff like that, and they have a lot of wide receivers that I think are looking pretty good. That's the thing that like my team needs, but is that necessarily going to be the piece that I go after? If I'm at the 2, I mean, should I get Etienne or should I just get Jamar Chase? I mean, because I thought that running backs were just, worth their weight in gold, but it seems like, wide receivers are the thing that's winning everyone's league this year. So I don't know if I should. Yeah,
this year's kind of an anomaly because like 2 months ago, if you were to ask like who's more valuable, CeeDee Lamb or Jonathan Taylor, like people would laugh in your face. If people said, oh, who's more valuable, T. Higgins or Clyde Edwards-Helaire, people would laugh in your face. Right now, it's not looking so foolish to value these receivers ahead of the running backs. I think in most situations, in most cases, people are going to want to pay up for the running back like an ETN, Najee Harris, or a Chuba Hubbard over a wide receiver, just because the wide receiver position is so deep that like if you look at somebody's wide receiver dynasty rankings, like Tyler Boyd's going to be wide receiver 30. And we know that he's like a legitimate wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 2. But in the grand scheme of things, it's such a deep position. Whereas Travis Etienne, if he is what he thinks he is, and if Jonathan Taylor breaks out, CEH breaks out, they're going to be top 10 guys at a position that's only like 15 deep.
So you got anything you're looking forward to on the channel? Any sneak peeks?
For the Bunkbed channel, I'm not sure. I think Mike said he was going to start doing roster reviews. I'm not sure how he's going to I'm not sure how he's going to do that. I'm not sure if he's going to do like live videos like this or he's just going to take them from the Discord. He's also West Coast, so like when we record for Bunkbed, it's like 10 or 11 at night because I'm East Coast, Nick's East Coast, so it's sometimes it's tough, especially I know like doing these videos live. I've lucked out that a lot of people, they're West Coast, but they're able to do it a little bit earlier, so I'm not like half asleep and dead. As far as Bunkbed goes, I think we're just doing like weekly recaps for the rest of the season. As like week 16, 17 comes around, when there's like no trade targets or nothing interesting to talk about, we'll probably pivot more towards like buy low guys and dynasty guys that we liked after the rookie year. I know early in the offseason we start to talk a lot about rookies, but I think also in the offseason, not that I'm going to have like more time because I still have school and shit, but I'm hoping to do more of these type of videos and maybe get Nick on, maybe get Animal on, Snacks on, some of the people from the channel. I know Scott wants to go on a few of these too. He enjoys these type of videos and he just likes talking football. So his face is probably gonna be blacked out for his own benefit or whatever. But yeah, hopefully more of that type of stuff. We're also going to be joining Nick on his live streams in the offseason on Saturday morning Q&As. So should be a lot more like, I'd say compared to other years, at least for this channel, we haven't really done anything in prior years, but I think it's gonna be a lot of audience engagement, these type of videos, just like getting opinions from audiences. Cause sometimes it's hard to like make an hour-long podcast a week when there's no football for like 7 months and you just gotta like make up topics.
Dude, I have no idea how we talked for an hour, just about just how shitty my teams are and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty nuts. Hopefully people don't find it too boring, but I try to like, I think I sent you this on when we were talking on Discord and stuff like that. But I'm one of those guys. You guys put so much content out. You put all the resources out that you need. It shouldn't really be, when it comes to like sit starts and stuff like that, it shouldn't really be that hard and stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm the same way too. Like I don't really consume any sort of fantasy content. I just feel like, not to be all high and mighty, but it's like when I like research shit and like prepare for the videos, like the last thing I want to do is hear like other people. Not that I don't value other people's opinions, but it's like I'd much rather listen to other podcasts than this. So, but I get it too. Like I'll still like look on Twitter for people's rankings or like a YouTube video that has somebody's rankings. I'll just like skim through it, and I'll still be like, damn, who should I start this week? So I get it because you want like affirmation and making rankings coming from like my point of view. I'll say too, like if somebody were to ask me, are you starting X player or Y player this week? Even if I have X over Y, in that moment, I might be like, I'll start Y this week. I don't know why, but it's just like, it's so hard to make rankings when there's like 100 players sitting in front of you.
The worst is when people make rankings just based upon numbers. That's the number one thing I hate in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I ended up not really going through with my podcast. I ended up just doing a blog and stuff like that. But then I got so much into your guys' content. You guys were just going to do it way better than I was going to be able to. The main thing that you guys do that I appreciate is that you guys talk about the players and you talk about the games that you watch. You don't kill people with stats and stuff like that. I can't stand that kind of shit.
Yeah, I know, not to cut you off, sorry, but like originally, I'm not sure how long you've been watching. And I don't want to
Since the beginning of this summer.
Yeah. The first time Nick brought me on the channel, which was my freshman year of college or something like that. So like 3 years ago at this point, I was exactly that. I was just numbers. Like he brought me on for a buy low, sell high video in like week 12. And I was just like, Kenny Golladay had 8 targets last week. His trend has been blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I look back, I'm like, just shut the fuck up. Just please shut the fuck up and just like talk about the game. And I know this year we've kind of strayed away from like actual number analysis. But I think the thing about it is like anybody can look at the numbers. Like the numbers we're looking at, other than if it's like from Pro Football Focus, which is like a paid sponsorship type of thing, like all these numbers you can find, like look up Kenny Golladay targets, go in Pro Football Reference and just look how the numbers are going. I think it's more valuable to the viewers, and it's honestly like a little bit easier for us too, just like talk about what we saw, because we see things different than other people see things. And some people might not be as interested and invested in the Chargers and might not know how they blew the game at the end of the game. And I can tell them how they blew the game at the end of the game and how good Keenan Allen is. Whereas if you're looking at the box score and say Keenan Allen goes like 4 for 37, you're like, oh, what happened? Maybe I can be like, oh, he was overthrown by like 1 yard on this play. Just like what you see, I feel like presenting that type of information, at least for me, like if I were to listen to somebody's podcast, I'd much want to hear like their opinions rather than just like objective, boring stats.
Yeah, because the thing that you ultimately want to encourage, I think, is for people to watch the games. I feel like a lot of times, unfortunately, people get into fantasy football sometimes they just kind of get like their arm like twisted into doing it, and they don't get a lot of fun out of it. But the thing is, though, is that fantasy football should be like an avenue to watch more football.
Yeah, like playing is like a caveat to actually enjoy watching. Like a big reason for me not watching college football a ton is because I have nothing on the line until it's like the rookie draft. Then I'll go back and watch it. But like, I'm not going to watch 11 guys who I might know one or two guys' names on the field. When there's 22 guys on the field, I might know one or two. I'm not too interested. When I have like stakes in it and I want to talk about it later that week on a podcast, I'm going to watch like every game. I'm going to watch Red Zone. I'm going to watch replays of some of the games too.
Yeah, the only college, I mean, I'm a huge Buckeyes fan, so I'll watch them, but then I'll watch whoever they play. So sometimes exposure to that, and I'll be like, damn, who the hell is that? You know, I remember going to a Buckeye game a few years ago, and I saw Saquon Barkley for the first time.
That must have been nice.
I'm like, who the hell is this guy that's just absolutely destroying people? Never heard of him. He ends up being a huge, you know, pretty good player. So
yeah, he's pretty good. He's decent. So I've heard.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think when you just give the numbers and stuff like that, not only is it freaking boring to anyone that actually watches football and stuff like that, it's just like it doesn't really tell the whole story and stuff like that. So you guys being able to break down how you feel about a player, trashing a player when they need to be trashed and stuff like that, it's a lot more fun, you know?
Yeah. I think one huge example of it, and we talked about this player earlier, is Marquise Brown. You don't know how many times on Twitter people are like, oh, he has the most unrealized air yards in the league. He is 7th in targets. But when you watch the games and you see the unrealized air yards are targets that are thrown 20 yards past him and there's no chance he's going to catch the ball, like, does it really matter? You're getting the ball thrown to you. Like, at that point, it's a lot more what's actually happening on the field rather than the numbers that are being contrived. Like, this early in the year, AJ Green was seeing 170 air yards a game, 15 targets a game. The guy's washed. He's 32 years old, coming off of like multiple foot injuries. You could see that, you know, week one he looked decent, but then after that he looked shitty, and people are like, oh, buy low on AJ Green because there's volume there. Sometimes you got to realize T. Higgins is better than him. Tyler Boyd's better than him. There's gonna be volume, but it's empty volume because he's not going to do much with it. So I agree with you, and I'm glad people like you are saying this, because I know in like this week's video somebody commented, it's like, man, I remember when these guys used to do actual analysis. Now they're just talking about the games. I'm like, sorry, I'm sorry we're talking about the games.
On next Q&A, Salt. I remember there was a bunch of guys that were just asking him, like, what's your favorite tequila? What are you wearing for Halloween? What kind of car if you could buy a car? And he's just like, he was getting really into that kind of stuff. I think he loves when we get to ask him about anything other than fantasy sometimes. Because, you know, as much as I love football, you know, it's just like it gets to a point in time, especially if you're not doing that great or if you are just so oversaturated with it. You kind of, it's a breath of fresh air when you can talk about, you know, other things and stuff like that too. But it was funny. Some guy, he commented, it's just like, I thought this was a fantasy football podcast. You're just talking about this shit. Just like shut that guy down and stuff like that. He's like, you can get the hell out of here if you want. So
it was the Patreon thing too?
Huh?
It was the Patreon live stream?
It was a Q&A. So yeah, he might have been, he had to have been on a Patreon and stuff like that. But it's just like, man, don't.
Yeah, that's a little crazy because you're like paying for it. You'd think you know like who you're paying for. You know that like Nick likes to talk about other things.
Yeah. So I always try to do that for him and stuff. I always try to ask him other questions and stuff like that, because then you just see, I feel so bad for him sometimes. There'll be like literally hundreds of sit-start questions. And he just seems to be more like, dude, it's on the website. It's just like where they're at and stuff like that. And then every time it's super close, he's like, dude, flip a coin. So it's just like, I don't know. So yeah, I feel bad for him sometimes and stuff like that. When he's really cool about it.
Yeah.
So I kind of do what you guys do and stuff like that. I feel like I just be too much of an asshole.
Just keep it light. Yeah, I always think the best content that like whenever it's like me, Mike, and Nick, or just like me and Mike, I think the best content. I told Mike this past week, and it's like no slight to Nick at all, but I think that this week's video that we put out was probably the best one during the in-season content, because I feel like we didn't try hard. We just talked, and I think when you're able to create content by just talking and enjoying what you're talking about, and there's no pressure, and it's like you're just sitting in your basement with your friends. That 70 show, you're just bullshitting like that, and you can like make a video out of it, and people enjoy it. I think that's like the best type of content. You
probably were too young for that show, were you?
Yeah, I was negative 29 during the 70s. So.
But hey, man, you take care.
You too, man. Everybody, Thumbs up if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Thumbs down if you didn't enjoy. I don't take it personally. We'll see you guys. I think the next video will be Mike's video on Monday. So catch that. And we'll see you whenever we see you. Peace.